Selanga Ross. So Brooke and Alice Real Estate, that's what we are. We do a lot of things. We are basically a property solutions company. We help sellers in so many different ways. We want to offer the proper solution that's going to fit this case and scenario for the seller, whatever that means. So often we talk with sellers that are looking to sell their property, but they often don't want to list the property on the MLS, so they're looking for other options that are available to them. So the great thing that we do is we want to provide all the solutions. So it could be, one, getting a cash offer, which is going to be great. It's going to be the convenience way of doing things. It'll be fast and easy compared to if you were to go more of the traditional route. So when I talk to sellers, I say, okay, what are your goals? What is the scenario that you're looking for? What's the best situation that you can have that helps you sell your property? Well, the problem is that most times sellers want to be able to get the best of both worlds. They want the highest price they possibly can with the convenience. And that is a challenge. So we want to be able to provide a solution that can make the most sense, right? And then, so it's kind of like if you want the highest price, then it's not going to have as much of the convenience. If you want more of the convenience, then it's not going to be the highest price because we're looking at it from many different angles, right?
So, yeah, but let's back up and do a question that we hear a lot.
Okay.
Because in the world of real estate investing, there is lots and lots of options, and we know that. And one of the questions we get most often is, are you the buyer? Are you the person bringing cash to the table?
Okay, great question. So my job is to talk with sellers that are looking for an opportunity to sell their property. And I want to look for the opportunities that are going to be good for the investors that we work with. So we work in many markets all across the country. We try to find the opportunities that we know that our investors are looking for. And then in that situation, if this is going to fit the case and scenario that works for them, and this also works for the sellers we work with, then our job is to basically bring that opportunity to our local investors that are right there in the area. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our job is really day in and day out. We look at hundreds of properties and say, yes, this one qualifies for something our investors would be interested in, or this doesn't quite fit it. We do have some other options available as well, which is really what I think is great about working with us. Most cash
Right.
buyers are going to give you one offer. It's take it or leave it. And we would have 15 or so offers that we can put in front of you, depending on what works for you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's tell them a little bit about our connection in with the institutional buyers. What are institutional buyers?
Yeah, what are institutional buyers? Well, some people know them. They're hedge funds, or they're funds that have a certain amount of money that they are wanting to spend. A lot of them are coming from stock market money. And so they have specific buy boxes and what they're looking for. And so there are specific markets that they're looking for. They're looking for specifically 3 bedrooms or more. And so we can, since we have the relationships with these hedge funds, we can bring your properties or our sellers' properties to them as an option to be able to purchase. So the cool thing about that is that we have the relationship, we have the in, and we can be able to get them an offer that's one that they can depend on. That's really the bottom line of it, right?
Mm-hmm. Right, because there are some situations where some other offers out in the marketplace, and we hear from sellers all the time that call us and say, I had it sold, something happened,
true.
we had a lady packed up all of her furniture sold, everything else in the U-Haul, and the buyer backed out the day of closing, right?
Right. And it happens. This is one of the things we try to prevent. One of the solutions when I talk with people is I want to be able to give you all the information that's available for you so you can make the best decision possible. So instead of being in the case and scenario like that, where, okay, you have an offer, everything looks like it's going to be good, and you're counting on this price, and they haven't done an inspection period situation, so there's no time limit that they have to make a final decision by, and they can basically run it all the way up until the last day, right before closing, and they say, in order for us to close, we have to have a price drop of $40,000. This is not new. This is not unheard of. This happens way too often. So we don't want to be that kind of solution provider. We don't want to. That's not going to put anybody in a good place. We want to be able to provide an option that's really going to be something, like I said, you can depend on, instead of something that's going to pull the rug right underneath you. And now you have your U-Haul packed up, and you're ready to move, and then things change on you last minute. So this happens too often. And that's one of the things we want to do is we're going to say, okay, so if you have a higher offer from somebody, great. Let me help you with those details of what that looks like so we can see if that contract's actually really something you can count on or if it's going to change on you. And we see it too often. So we can help through those little cases there to make sure that that's not putting you in a bad place or not putting the sellers in a bad place, right?
Right.
Okay.
So great, right? It's like, what's the soonest you can close and what's the longest we can push it out?
Okay, perfect. So that kind of depends on the situation of what we're talking about. But most of the time, it's, again, the convenience is that you get to choose some of these pieces. So if it means that you need a little bit more time frame in which to sell or which to move out of the property, we can offer that. We typically don't like to do anything, more than 90 days. But again, because we have so many options, it kind of depends. So are you looking for a quicker close? Then we can accommodate. We don't want to overpromise something that we can't deliver as well. So I always tell people that a 30-day or sooner close is most of the time what we can fit into if we're trying to do something quick. If you have people that are telling you they can do something in 2 weeks, there may be some legitimate investors that are doing that, and that's fantastic if that's the case. But if they're not going to be the actual end buyer and they're not being honest and truthful with you about that, then they could be then like them being able to close in 2 weeks is not really legitimate. So we want to give you the right information so you know what to expect and that things aren't changing. So 30 days or sooner close is what the majority of the time that works with.
Sure. And sometimes for some of the programs that we have, they allow for the seller to stay after closing. And so
Right.
very often people, our clients are trying to figure out how am I going to sell and buy again, or I need some money. I just don't have the funds to put that deposit on the new place and get moved in. And so what are we going to do to solve this issue? So that's one of the things that is fairly common for us. And we refer to it as post-possession, meaning that you as the homeowner are going to stay in the house after we close, typically no more than 30 days. However, up to 60 days is available. We like to do it no longer than that because if the buyer is a buyer that is going to occupy the property as opposed to an investor, or even some of the investor loans, they require it to be vacant by the 61st day. So we don't like super long rent backs. We do have a couple companies that do 6-month minimum rent backs with a signed lease. So really, there's just tons of options depending on what works best for you. But ideally, that would be a post-possession of 30 days if you're going to stay after you receive your money.
And post-possession means you can stay in the property. You're possessing it post-close for a specific period of time, or some people call it a rent back. You're renting it back for a specific period of time. And we can work out the details of what that looks like. Usually you're going to have some market rent in that, or it can just be part of the deal or part of the agreement that's made. Yeah, for sure.
And we've got a second option that kind of allows for that. That's our 2-payment cash option.
Okay,
It's another
yeah.
one, right?
Yes. So 2-payment. So one of the funds that we work with, or one of the institutional buyers that we work with, will be able to provide what we call cash plus offer. So what that means is that you can get a little bit of a higher price. It's not going to be full retail or full market value for the property because they are funds. They are trying to make a profit on it. So again, we're being straightforward and letting you know what that looks like. But you can make a decision if this is an option, and it does suit and fit certain cases. So how that works is the fund will give an offer, whatever that net number is, meaning that's the number that you receive. There's no other fees or costs that come out of that. They're going to pay you an initial payment within 21 days. Or if you're wanting to close, let's say 60 days down the line, then you're going to get it at 60 days. So the first payment's going to be anywhere from 70 to 80% of that initial offer amount. So if you have 70 to 80% of the offer you're going to receive in the first payment. So that's yours right away. Usually most people have a mortgage, so we have to make sure that covers the mortgage at that point. So that gets paid off. Then the extra funds you have right then and there, you're able to move out of the property. At that point, once you move out of the property, then the hedge fund is going to actually list the property on the open market, right?
That's correct.
Go the traditional route. They're going to find a buyer at that point that wants to purchase the home to live in it. Now, at that point, once they sell it, how long does that usually happen?
It depends on the market, but most markets are within 60 days
Yeah.
because we're wanting to price it where you end up getting the rest of your money and this doesn't drag on forever.
Exactly. So yeah, their average is 45 days. So if it can get done sooner than that, it has happened. That's not an anomaly for sure. But again, it's going to go to an end buyer that wants to purchase and live in the home. So there's a few parts that have to work out for that to happen. So typically, 60 days or so, or hopefully sooner as well. Then the second release of your second payment is released once it closes. And all of those funds are held in escrow. So it's all there ready to go. Now, if the property sells for more, can you make more? Yes. And also, if the property does end up selling for less, well, we're letting the market dictate the full price overall.
Sure.
So it's just a convenience so that you don't have to do the showings, you don't have to have the walkthroughs, you don't have to have all the keeping the house clean and ready to show and leave the house all the time. If you have animals, if you have,
Dogs.
well, yes, right. I don't know, all the different parts that could really make it inconvenient. There's many scenarios, right?
All of it.
Yeah. So whatever the situation is your specific situation or a seller specific situation, it can be very accommodating for that case. So that's another option we have. I mean, we can go on and on. So the point is that you really should contact us because we can help you. And we're going to give you the straight scoop. You're going to know exactly what options are available to you and be able to make the best decision for you. That's what it comes down to.
What I know, and thank goodness we're best friends. I couldn't ask for a better best friend. Truly.
Oh, me too.
But what I do know is even if we're not the fit for you, that it is our priority to make sure that you do have the information that you need to be able to make your next move or take your next steps with a full knowledge of what all of your options are. So I'm not going to hard sell you on the phone. Brooke's not going to hard sell you. We're going to lay out the options. Does this work? Okay, why not? Okay, let's try this one. Great. Oh, you don't like this part? How about this option? So I don't want you to be afraid like, hey, they're going to hard sell me or it's going to be uncomfortable. We really are on your side, and if you want full price and your house is beautiful and doesn't need any work, we still even have a solution for that.
Absolutely. Yes. So what we can provide whatever situation is going to be best for you. And I like what she said. We're not going to hard sell. We really are on your side. I always talk about if we're on the same team, then we can do so much better together. And we are looking for ways to be able to purchase properties and bring them to our investors that are wanting to, fix and flip a property or keep it as a rental. So it is, they are looking for a profit on it, which these are the solutions or options that are available. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, that's totally okay. You're going to be more informed and more at peace about, okay, so I didn't know that. Okay, I didn't know that. And so that you can be more, educated, really, or as informed, I guess is a better way to say it, on whatever solution is going to make the most sense for you. So we are, you're a
Advocate.
Advocate, exactly. We are. Oh, sorry, you said an agent advocate or
Owner
owner advocate. We are owner advocates. That's right. Okay.
Right. So tell me about this. Because sometimes I know the economy has just been very expensive. I don't know about you guys, but my gas is more expensive, my food is more expensive, and it's just expensive right now. And from what I've heard, just money's not going as far as it could. And in the event that you're in a situation that you need to make a decision or potentially move if you've missed a mortgage payment, the sooner you call, the more options we can lay out. Our hedge funds can close quick. Our institutional buyers can close quick, but we're typically looking at least 14 days with those. So if we get too close to the date and we don't leave enough time for them to do their walkthrough and schedule that closing, we lose some of those buyers. But I've worked with homeowners that need to sell quickly plenty of times, and a lot of them want to try to figure out the solution on their own day after day, and then we get the call 3 days before your house is going to be auctioned and you need help. And at that point there are still options, but there's just a lot fewer. So even if you say, I don't know, Brooke and Alice, I don't know, I may be able to get this figured out myself, I just wanted to see your input and what options you might have, are you okay with that?
Yeah,
if they're not sure they want to work with us yet?
Yeah. So we can try to help the situation because there's answers. That's the point. You don't have to be stuck in a bad situation. And if you're I mean, how many there's obviously, maybe some of you are already know real estate. You understand the details that goes behind the whole thing, right? You understand appraisals, you understand all the different aspects that can happen with real estate. But there's a lot of people who don't. If they may have bought a house, that was their first time ever doing that. They don't know the next parts that go along with it. They just went from one step to the next step and had some information as they were going along and had a home, and then they get themselves in a situation that they can't afford the mortgage payments. Well, so I guess we want to be able to talk most simply down to the lowest level, right? Someone who doesn't have all the information, and if it's stuff you already know, then great, you already know. But if you're someone who does not understand all the details there, that's what we can help with, is to show you what that process can look like and help you get out of a bad situation. You don't have to go into foreclosure, is the point. There are solutions to that.
There's ways to extend it to give you more time to sell. There's even some potential ways to stay. So,
Right, absolutely.
I think the big thing is also for all the real estate agents out there. I myself am licensed in Arizona and Tennessee, but I find myself able to be a great resource for other agents in terms of listings that you have that won't sell. Maybe they owe more than the property's worth, and truly you are hoping to be able to get it sold, but it's been a few weeks, and I know how that feels. You've got a seller's property up and you're racing the clock to their whatever date they need to sell, whether it's foreclosure or they've just got a timeline to get it done. And so we've also found that we are a good resource for real estate agents. Hey, I've got this listing. Do you see anything that we could do to get this property sold and help my seller out? So if you're an agent and you want to look at the creative options and the institutional offers and all of these things for your seller, we're happy to chat with you about that as well. Attractive to our investors. And that's kind of what you're saying we're already good at, because we talk to so many investors that we're really dialed in on where those numbers need to be. But if you are newer to investing and having any sort of trouble moving your contracts or making that happen, we're more than happy to take a look at them, give you our opinion, see if we can bring some of our buyers to the table and get it closed. If you're in the property too high, we're here to help you get that renegotiated with the seller. Is that something that you would do if we were working with someone?
So didn't you have a specific case that just happened?
I did. We had one that just got signed today. It's closing on Monday, but another investor reached out and said, I've got a contract here in Missouri and we are racing the clock because there's a foreclosure. And do you want to see if you can help me move this? And so what we did was put together the marketing, some heavy buyers in that area as agents. So part of our outreach would be to property management, to realtors, to other investors, and we were able to pick up three buyers to go by and take a look and see if it worked for them. We ended up with three offers, and of course, a little over full price on the one we accepted, and closing out on Monday. So beating that clock where the seller can actually get their funds, get their new place, and not have to worry about the property going into foreclosure. And that was a divorce situation. There's a million reasons why uh, people are in situations. I mean, bad things happen to good people, and that's what I always say. I myself have been in this situation. I got divorced in 2011 and thought that I was going to keep the marital house, which was way too much house and not really as affordable on one income when you have kids full time, not like it was with two incomes. And I watched every month the bank account was going down and down. And I'm like, shoot, I'm calculating it like I've got about 3 months left and I am in trouble.
Yeah.
And so I wish I knew everything that we know now. I really, really do. I would have made different moves.
Right.
I did what I had to and sold that property. Ended up bringing $13,000 to closing out of pocket
Oh my gosh.
because the market had not yet recovered in 2011. And so, yes, we got it done and no foreclosure. But now, if somebody called me in the same situation and said, I'm $13,000 underwater and I have to do something, what can we do? I most definitely could make that happen without somebody coming out of pocket any money.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
Let's dive in. Let's do a quick synopsis just so they understand kind of what the process looks like. Like, how do we move through the process? We've talked about they're going to have a phone call, kind of figure out what the situation is, what the goal is, how they make. We want to make sure you have somewhere to go when we do sell your,
Right.
house. So we don't want it to get to closing day and be like, we ain't got nothing to do. So beyond the conversation, what's kind of the process? Like, okay, it sounds like this program you've got, program number 6, is going to be one that works for me. So what are the next steps, or how do we move forward?
How we want to move forward. So if I just received, you just have a phone, called us in and said that you have a property that you are interested in selling, or you're looking to receive an offer for it, then, there basically it's going to be like a 15 to 20 minute phone call, right? Okay, so let's start with that. Within that time frame, I'm going to try to gather all the information I possibly can. So one of the things is we do, like you just mentioned, need to have a solution, or need to have something in place, knowing that you do have the next steps taken care of. Whether that means you're going to be renting another property, or purchasing another property, or moving with family, or whatever that next step looks like, even if that's just some interim time, that you have to be able to move somewhere once we close on the property, because we typically are going to want it vacant at now or post-possession time frame. Okay, so now we've gone through the process of they've selected option number 6. So depending on what that looks like, then the next steps are for us to actually send out an agreement to you. This is done electronically. At that point, we're going to get signatures. So we have to have something in writing. At that point, we're going to be opening escrow with the title company, or if it's in the attorney states, with the attorney. From there, then the next steps are going to be typically we're trying to get pictures of the property. So if you're able to send us current photos of what the property looks like, beautiful. Or we're going to have someone come out there to take pictures. So once we have that, then now we can start putting together all of the parts that we do, so we can get this out to our local investors that are going to want to move forward on the property. At that point, then we'll get that done. We try to do that within the first couple of days right away, so we can get things moving, if we're trying, especially if we're on a quick time frame. And then from there, then we want to get access to the property. So being on the same team, having the same goal here, that we are working together, the more we can have reasonable access to the property, the easier and smoother this makes it. Now that is, going to be basically by appointment or pre-scheduling ahead of time with you, either way that looks or works. And then we're going to get our contractors and our funding partners access to the property. So the people we work with that are going to be partnering with us on moving forward with that. So usually that's a handful or less times. It's quick, it's easy, it's not, you don't have to clean things up, you don't have to get it all tidy and perfect and ready for that. These are investors, these are not people who are going to be purchasing a home to live in it. So then from there, we do the walkthroughs for that. And then what other parts do you want me to cover on that?
Oh, I think that's, we do those walkthroughs.
Walkthroughs? And then that's going to happen during the inspection period or time frame that we have put together here. So that designated time frame that we've agreed on, and then during that's when all the details get worked out. Everything's good to go. We know that we're right on the numbers. We've found out that the property is exactly the way that you've described it to be, or we found a few things that are different than what you've described it to be. We have made those adjustments as needed. We're all on the same page, and we are continuing to move forward. Then from there, title starts to really do their work, and they're going to be reaching out to you to get more information when it comes to the closing, which means they're going to want to know how you want to get paid, and that kind of thing. So
how can you get paid?
Okay, how can you get
That's
paid?
the best part.
Okay, so there's 2 options really. You can either choose to receive a cashier's check, or you can have the funds transferred or wired to your bank account. Most people like the wire because it does happen quicker than waiting for a check to be received. And then from there, then most of the time, depending on where you are, most of the time we are going to actually have a mobile notary. So someone is going to come to you. You can come to your home, or you can meet somewhere, wherever you feel comfortable, and they will do all the closing documents at that point. So all the paperwork that needs to get signed will be finalized at that point in time. And then the title company will have those details that they need, and then they can finalize the transaction. Because we are rock stars. And we can be rock stars with you.
You can say that with purple hair.
Hey!